Hello, this is Sarah Marisha White, and this is my new podcast, Our Bodies Will Be Dirt. Tune in to the mind of an artist, land steward, healing practitioner, and warrior for liberation as we talk about life, death, and the liberation of our bodies in between. Make a cup of tea, maybe make a little comfy space for yourself and come tap in with me. Hey, what's good, y'all? What is good? It is 2025. There are fires in this moment spreading across California and, well, they're in Los Angeles area. Just in general, it's an odd time to be alive, let me say. I'm in Minneapolis where it's cold, but we have no snow. But the sun is out. That feels really, really peaceful and grounding, and it hasn't been around as much lately, so I just feel really grateful. I know it's been a month, I think, since I recorded a podcast. I felt like I was in a groove, and then the holidays hit and just a bunch of things in my life got activated, but also I feel like I got called in to change. And it's been an interesting revelation. It's been an interesting revelation and a really trying time, but honestly, I come here today feeling lighter than I was the last few weeks, and with a sense of clarity. And some of what I'm about to say, I really hesitate to say for many reasons. I'll start by saying that I was raised in like Black churches, born again, Holy Spirit filled, like loud music, dancing, getting slain in the spirit, like being a child in the back of a church and getting hands or oil put on my head and then waking up on the floor later. And there was just a lot of trauma that also came along with my time that I will speak on in being involved with the church. Like, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But there was a lot of reasons that when I was a teenager, I'm like, I am out of here. I literally ran away and moved out as a teen before I was 18 and wanted to choose my own way. And I'm so grateful for all the things I've learned. I have done 3 yoga teacher certifications, certified meditation coach. I've studied community healing and justice and breath work, Buddhism, Taoism, all over the world. I've studied different ways that we try to tap in and connect with God, and that God means different things for so many. And some people believe in no God. Some people rely on the seasons and messages from the birds. I find myself somewhere in the middle where I see God in everything, and in my mind's eye, I see that everyone coming from their different paths may put their power in different places. We all have different circumstances that bring us towards certain beliefs. And to me, I really like the way that felt. That really feels like a place where I feel some justice. I've really struggled to understand like a God that wouldn't accept everyone and love everyone the way they are, in all the different colors and textures that we've become as humans, as we've evolved. And also just a lot of the like judgment and condemning that I grew up experiencing. I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Like, that doesn't feel like love. That doesn't feel like that same love. And to be completely honest, I still feel pretty tied into the ways that I've studied how to commune with land and spirit and ancestors in my own way. And December kind of brought me down to my knees. Like, nothing is really working the way that I want it to work. And I'm falling short on being able to take action on certain things and even just like survive. Like there were days in this last month where I'm looking at like quarters, like let me put these quarters together so I can get some bread. You know, it's like really humble, just being really real. Like, I don't have some of the like financial things that others may be like sitting on, you know, like in the bank account, the savings and family that can like bail out. Like, when I'm out, I'm out. And it was bringing up a lot of resentment and bitterness. I just found myself just like really being alone and feeling distraught, but still choosing sobriety. Just like choosing to sit through like a really big ache. You know, there's lots of things going on in my family health wise. It's kind of like a peak of all these different things happening. And I'm like, let me just sit in this storm. And it's so interesting, you know, how like at that place, all of a sudden, I'm going to call it my parents' God, because that's what it's always been to me. I feel like started showing up. And I say this, it's just there's such a hesitation because there's a lot that I'm still really like side-eyeing. To be honest, my walk with understanding that God, the God that sent Jesus, I'm totally talking about Jesus on this podcast right now, which is something that I had no plan on doing, but this is where I'm at today. And if that doesn't feel good for you, I understand. If you don't want to continue listening, this is like in no way telling anybody else what to believe or what to do. I'm just saying what's been happening. I just felt like my heart was getting pulled on. Like, why is it that I've read 100 other spiritual texts and I won't even like look at the Bible? Like, I'm just like, it gives me a and I think the is like, you know, being queer, being radical, being like just who I am. Like, I'm not who I perceive as someone who would fit in with that walk of life. A lot of it gives me the ick. Just not being able to be myself gives me the ick, right? But yet I've been feeling called to look more into like this Jesus character. And I've always like had love for Jesus's like love and the heart, just as a historical person, right? That came and that was persecuted and stood by the houseless folks, stood by the whores, sex workers. I don't know what they were called back in the day. Much respect to people doing the work they're doing. But yeah, with the poor, and like rose up against the systems that be with the message of love. I've always resonated with that, right? But I don't have like a personal relationship with Jesus. And I felt content with that. And I don't know, something was like, you should go check out that church that your ex-drummer is a preacher at now. And part of that is definitely some desperation. I'm like, yo, nobody is helping to take my burden off. Like, there's no like community for me to call. Like, anybody I tell I need stuff, they're like, oh yeah, we don't have resources. Like, in my life, a lot of people want me to show up to activate things, but if I need just like 5K to survive, I don't have a person to hit up. There's nobody right now in my life. And so I thought, man, maybe I should try God, because my meditation ain't stopping this eviction probability right now. It's keeping me peaceful, but I need a miracle. I need like a big paradigm shift in my life. And just kind of like the whole saying, Jesus, take the wheel. I'm kind of like, man, I'll at least let you get your hand on it so I can see what's up, because shit is not really working in the way that I planned. And, it's all good. Our plan in our minds is one thing, but it brought me to a place where I was curious enough to go. And I sat in the back, as I did most of my childhood, if I was able to just like kind of hide out. Because when I was a kid, I would be in church and they would always find me. They'd always be like, you in the back. Like, God has a job for you to do here. And I'm like, screw that. Like, I'm going the opposite way. I don't want anybody else telling me what to do. I grew up with a family that was always like, no trick-or-treating, no watching shows that my friends watched. It was like all eyes on God. I'm like, nah. And so I'm laughing, sitting at the back of the church. Like, man, I think I like smoked some trees before I went. I'm just sitting back there, and I could just, my heart, something was happening in my heart, and it just felt so soft and warm. And so, yeah, something started to shift, and I have found myself kind of just like reading some scriptures and listening to some testimonies. Like, there's this fine preacher, like fine, covered in tattoos, who I think found God in prison. But like, yo, I didn't realize there was like such just really powerful leaders that are connectable, that walk that path of love. But it's just never been something I've been attracted to. Like, I'm kind of like I gravitated more towards like a Jay Shetty before he started selling everything. And, just people that are a little more like general spiritual. But lately I do feel like there's been a different perspective, and it just brings on some curiosity. I'm not here to like preach to anybody or tell anybody what to do or what to believe in. I would just be lying if I didn't say that something was changing in my life, and kind of just renewing my focus. Maybe, if anything, having me step back and realize how little I know, and really asking, I was explaining to my daughter, because she's like, all of a sudden we're going to church, like, all of a sudden, like, I like gathered up a bunch of my crystals. I just have wanted to clear out my energy. I'm like, man, I got like Egyptian god stuff up in my crib. I got crystals. I got so much spiritual stuff, like, and just so much extra baggage in general, just surrounding me, like surrounding my bed, surrounding the rooms I practice in and stretch in and do yoga in, and just, there's just stuff, there's like almost like programming that I've brought into my house, and I kind of just want to clear everything out so I can get on the path that I'm meant to live on. And my daughter's like, what's up, and I had to just be honest, like, yo, I have taught and shared with you so many different spiritual paths, and like, my hesitancy with this coming into my life is that I've spent most of my life trying to reclaim the parts of myself that were completely told could not exist because of the ways that like my parents understood God's will. And I'm still not sure that it's going to align with me, but that I'm asking like, yo, if this is you, God, if you're listening, like I want direct, like clear answers. And I have not gotten those yet. So the only clear answer I got is that I have to like speak on it, and know that that means some people might not like me or like think that I've joined a cult. I'm still just me. I'm a curious person. And if I've studied all these other spiritual texts right now, I'm about to be a Bible banger. I'm going in. I just kind of want to understand like what messages are there, because, you know, there are messages of fire spreading. There are messages of these wars intensifying and people getting sick by the masses and just kind of like the spiritual warfare. And I think we all have to admit right now there is like a war going on that's of the mind and of the soul and of control of all of those things, and the powers that be like kind of using their power to manipulate the parts of us that feel like we're lacking and feel alone and feel scared. And so I share this not to encourage anyone else to do anything, but just to share that I'm growing more curious on what type of armors we need to put on to be able to step into this next time. You know, like I will use scriptures, I will use breath work, I will use the things I prophesize in dreams, I will use teas and tinctures and roots to keep my body strong. I will use strategies that I learn around security. Like I'm kind of like all hands on deck. I think 2025 is going to be the beginning of some wild, wild things, some wild, wild days. You know, it's Wednesday morning, and all I see on my phone right now is fires and people selling shit. It makes me feel crazy. It's such a contrast, and so many of us like posting like one small aspect of us when the other 99% is longing just to be seen and connected. And so it's just making me so curious. And so there's a couple of scriptures that like have kind of called to me, and I think the first one, I cannot believe I'm sharing a scripture. This is wild. But let's just take it as like, if I quote Rumi and shit, let's just add it in there, right? But 2 Timothy 1:7, I think it is. God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. And that really lately has been helping with mental health. Like it's easy to scroll and just be like fucking overwhelmed. And I love that I'm cussing talking about Jesus. Oh, I'm a human. Just being overwhelmed and being like, nah, like this is not the truth. We're not here just to be in fear of what's coming next. Nah, like there has to be more than we could do. And it's just grounding. And then a couple of days ago, something funny happened. Because, you know, now I'm questioning everything. I'm like, well, you know, which part of my life am I living from what I think I'm supposed to be doing? And is there any possibility that my purpose could become more clear? And that I could thrive and everything flows when I'm in that space of clarity that's in alignment, not coming from like the ways that society programs you to produce, like a production from the heart, which I do strive to do with most things. But, you know, if it's not easeful, something's off. And I was thinking about this, this podcast, because I've been like, I don't even know what to say. Like, shit is nothing's working, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer all the time, like, meh. And I just like kind of did some research about, our bodies becoming dirt. And I found Ecclesiastes 12:7. Then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. And I was digging a little more into it, and it talks about how our mortal bodies return to the dust. And the life of breath, or the life force that's within us, just leaves the body. And it reunites, right? And in some different practices, it reunites with different gods. In some, it reunites with the universe, with the cosmos. In some, it reunites with nature. In some, it reunites with spirit. Either way, it's like a sense of coming home. Like, we're here during this time, in this shell, in these bodies. But at a split second, these bodies go limp. And that really was like what I was thinking about with starting this podcast, was just conversations around, like, fear around death, around purpose, and all the different things that we kind of like are grappling with while we're trying to produce a new world, while we're trying to figure out what freedom really feels like. And to find that scripture just really, I don't know, it has me stepping back. I'm like, what poetry, about the finality of this life. And we don't know when that day is for any of us. It doesn't matter if you believe in God or not. The truth is that our time here is short. And so I figure if I can just encourage even one person to slow down on the race and just, soak in some sun and give thanks wherever you believe in. And just know that you're loved, and you're loved just the way you are. There's not more that you need to prove. All of this will crumble. All of this will crumble. On that light note, I just wanted to say what's up because it had been a minute, but I thought, let me just share where I'm at. And maybe it'll be different next week. Maybe it'll be different today. At the end of the day, I'm just kind of laughing at the comedy of, maybe like 30 plus years after running away. Maybe not 30 plus years, but I would say I had already ran away 30 years ago, even if I was still at home, from the concept of even exploring this path. And I got a Bible open on my bed. It's just kind of funny to me. I still have like all the other things that I'm doing and that I'm exploring and that I'm learning. I'm not heading to a mountain right now, but I am excited to learn more and to see who I become, and let everything that needs to fade away. I love you. Peace. Talk soon.